Childhood Care and Education is the name of our program, and the title of the presentation is Early Childhood Care and Education More Than You Imagined. And I titled it that because people have so many stereotypes about what early childhood is, and most of them are really incorrect. And so I kind of want to set the record straight about what are some of the options in early childhood and really what the field is about. And so one of the things about it being more than what we imagined is so many things happen in early childhood. We learn to walk, we learn to talk, we learn to write, we learn to think, we learn to manage our feelings, we learn how to make friends and get along with people. There's so much growth and development that happens in the first 8 years of life. And that's what we call early childhood, is the first 8 years. The brain is growing really rapidly. It's laying down the foundation for future learning and future school success, for emotional health and well-being for the rest of our lives. And it's just a huge period of development. So I feel like if you want to be, I'll take a quote from Hamilton, if you want to be in the room where it happens, early childhood is the place to be. And in early childhood education, we base our work on a deep understanding of child development. So we study child development theories, current research in the field, and child development is a specialty of psychology, so it's developmental psychology. But also, in the last 20 years, our field has really been influenced by neuroscience, molecular biology, and epigenetics. So if you would have told me 30 years ago that I would know about the brain and brain development, I would have told you were crazy, because I went into early childhood because I didn't like science. But because of all the technology that has been developed in the medical field, we're doing things around the country like mapping babies' brains right now. And so we just have that ability to look inside the brain and really get a sense of how it works. And then we want to base our teaching practices and our caregiving practices on this new and best knowledge that we have. So it's a very complex field, much more complex than anybody gives us credit for, and it's dynamic. It's always changing, because this is just such a rapid period of learning about child development and early education. We see children as capable, as competent, as curious, full of wonder. We see children as powerful, and yet they're vulnerable, and they are deserving human beings, fully human, with rights. And so we do not put down kids. We don't minimize who they are. We really see them as competent and capable, and we celebrate that. So when you're thinking about the field, there's lots of different things you could do. You could be a child care center director. This is one of our former students who opened a dual language child care center. You can be a childhood mental health practitioner. That's something else that one of our students does. They work for Fernbrook Family Resources, and they go into people's homes and they work with their young children with early childhood or infant toddler mental health issues. This is Mallory. She's also one of our former students, and she was a teacher in a child care center and then was an assistant director, and now she's a quality coach. Parent Aware is our quality rating system in Minnesota. Programs volunteer to sign up for it, and they can be rated 1 star being low and a 4 star being high. And she coaches teachers and directors to help them reach those higher stars to become a 3 or 4 star rated program. You can also advocate for children, and you can lead an organization. This is Taryn, one of our former students, and she worked here in Rochester on child advocacy and worked in our local resource and referral agency. And then she finished her bachelor's degree and moved to Colorado. moved up through the ranks there and became the executive director of a child care resource and referral agency, and has just been named president of the board for our National Association for our Child Care Resource and Referral Agencies. So she is just a mover and a shaker, and we're so proud to call her one of ours. Some of our other students have gone on to be a student services coordinator at Rochester Public Schools. This is our student Beth, and she just finished her bachelor's degree in teaching credential at Winona State, and she's going to be working with all the Latino and Hispanic families and helping them navigate the public school system. Another one of our former students is the education program coordinator. So she coordinates all the preschool programs through Rochester Public Schools. And then another student of ours, Paige, graduated from our program, went on to Winona State and got her bachelor's degree in social work, and now she's an elementary social worker at Bishop Elementary in Rochester Public Schools. And then this is Zach. Zach went through our program. He got his 2-year degree, got hired on as a para in Rochester Public Schools, and as a kindergarten para. And then he decided he wanted to go into early childhood special ed, so he finished up his degree and was a special ed teacher for Stewartville Public Schools, and now he's at Plainview, Elgin Millville, in their elementary school as the early childhood special ed teacher. And he just finished his master's degree in early childhood education from Concordia. And those are some of his kiddos there. So when we think about teaching credentials in Minnesota, there's the birth to 3rd grade credential. And this is one I often have to say like 3 times over for people to get. There really is a preschool credential. There's an early childhood birth to 3rd grade credential. So you could teach 3rd grade, 2nd grade, 1st grade, kindergarten, or preschool in the public schools. There's also an early childhood special ed credential. That means you teach children birth through age 6 who have special needs. The way that we do early childhood special ed in Minnesota is services for children birth through 2 are home-based. So we go into the home and work with the parents and the child together. And then for children who are 3 to 6, we bring them on site and we work with them in our early childhood programs in our public schools. And then the third license that you might be interested in is the Parent and Family Education license. And this is the license for teaching the parent ed classes in our ECFE, or Early Childhood Family Education programs. Many of our former students go on to get licensure, and then they pick up a 2nd or a 3rd license. So in small towns like Caledonia or Spring Grove, it might be one person wears many hats in early childhood education. Now, if we're thinking about childcare, then some of you said you work in a childcare now, so that you can go in without any formal training and work as an assistant, a childcare assistant in a childcare center, or an aide or a helper in a group family childcare home. Notice we use the word childcare instead of daycare. In the field, professionals see that daycare is a derogatory term. People don't take care of days, they take care of children. So we prefer the word childcare, and in all the state legislation, all the state licensing standards, all refer to it as childcare. So according to the state, the position is childcare assistant teacher, and what you need for that is a 2-year degree from a program like ours at RCTC, or you can get a certificate, which is a much shorter 16 credit certificate, and then also have 520 hours as a student aide, a student intern, or as a childcare assistant in any licensed program. And these are the bare minimums. The minimum to be teacher qualified in a child care center is to have that certificate, and then 2,080 hours as an assistant teacher. And so that 2,080 is like a year of employment. Or you can have the 2-year degree from a community or technical college like ours, and then 1,040 hours as an assistant teacher, aide, or student intern. That would be about 6 months. So we, of course, encourage all of our students to get a job working in the field as soon as possible and to be working in the field while they're going to school. Here's what our certificate looks like. It's 16 credits. You take 4 credits of college English, or English 11-17. It's a 4-credit class. And then you take 12 credits in early childhood care and education. Our introduction class, our health, safety, and wellness, child development, guidance, and then intentional teaching through the learning environment. So that's how the basic teaching methods for early childhood education. The 2-year degree is much more. So instead of 16 credits, it's 60 credits. The good news is that all the courses that you take for the certificate are a part of the 2-year degree. So they're stacked one on top of each other. So now instead of just 4 credits in English, you take 11 credits. You take interpersonal communication, so no giving speeches, but it is a speech class. It's on getting along with others and talking with others. And then the English 1, and then the second English course. That says COM, but it should be English, reading and writing critically. And then there's natural sciences. You need 1 lab course for that. And we have 3 different choices. And then 4 credits of math. And usually we have students take statistics for that math class. And then history and social and behavioral sciences, 6 credits. You take intro to sociology, marriage and family, and human growth and development. And then in humanities, you can take either compassion studies or children's literature. And then for human diversity, we have a course called minority group relations. So those are the general ed courses, what we call our Minnesota transfer curriculum. And then in terms of the child development courses or early childhood education courses, you take intro, child growth and development, health, safety, and wellness, guidance, and intentional teaching through learning environments. So if you've gotten your certificate, those courses you've already got done. Then you go on to take observing and assessing, family relations, foundations of language and literacy, teaching young children with special needs, and practicum, which is like our student teaching. The good news is because we have a pathway now, you can transfer all your credits to a Minn State College or university. And Winona State University has an online early childhood education program. It's through their Winona State campus, but the teachers are all on the RCTC campus in Rochester, right across the hall from me. We get along really well, and we all share an advisor. So that makes it really easy for our students to transfer from RCTC to Winona State. And so they have 2 different options in early childhood education. You can add your early childhood license to a K-6 elementary ed license, or you can do early childhood and do the birth to 3rd grade license. Our partner for special ed is Southwest State University in Marshall, and they have early childhood special ed, that license and that bachelor's degree, all online. So you can get your 2-year degree, you can get your bachelor's degree, and then if you want, you can pick up your master's degree. And there's a couple options for that. Winona State offers one, Concordia University offers one, and again, Southwest State, but there's lots of others too. And then you're thinking about, gosh, do I want to go to college? How am I going to pay for this? Well, the good news is we have something called the Teach Scholarship. If you are working in a licensed family childcare center, or school-age childcare program, you've worked there for 6 months or more, and you're working 20 hours a week or more, you can qualify for the Teach Scholarship. And the Teach Scholarship will pay 85% of your tuition. And I want to say 10% or another percentage of your book. So it's like they cover like 90% of the cost of a 2-year degree. So you can come out with a 2-year degree pretty much paid for and not have to do student loans. And so then you could save that and take out student loans if you need to for finishing up that bachelor's degree. So that's a really exciting program that we have in Minnesota, and a lot of people don't know about it, the Teach Scholarship. I wanted to show you where we kind of hang out on campus. And this is our lab classroom. It's over at the Heinz Center. And it looks just like a preschool classroom, at least what we would want a preschool classroom to look like. We have a lot of our classes in here. You can see it's all set up with child-sized furniture. It's broken down into different areas. And we have all the materials that early childhood teachers would use when they're working with children. So we learn just as if we were kids and just as if we were teachers. So this is an example of some of the materials that our students gathered and prepared and put together for learning experiences last fall. And then as the children that we were working with were learning about pumpkins, we put together a tinker kit and some other materials and resources. We gathered gourds and pumpkins and fall books, and we put those together for children. When the children we're working with were learning about lines and squiggles and swirls, we were learning about lines and squiggles and swirls. So those are all designs that my students made. Here's an example of them in our classroom exploring light and shadow and reflection and making rainbows. Doesn't that look like fun? And these are some of the comments that our students say about our program. And I'll give you a minute to kind of read some of those. We also take it seriously that we want to provide our students with really meaningful adult learning. So we do a lot of learning by doing, as well as the reading and the writing. I love what Jessica wrote at the bottom. You know, honestly, I love learning about early childhood education. I find so much joy and optimism in so many moments in our class. We did so many hands-on activities this summer or this semester. And she goes on to talk about that. We learn about observational drawing. It's a technique we use with children. These are the college students' observational drawings. Here are the kiddos that we were working with. This is them creating their observational drawings. At age 3 and 4 and 5, we were learning about trees and pumpkins. And we had introduced the concept of ribs in a pumpkin. And you can see Gemma had added those to her pumpkin, looking carefully and drawing with a permanent black marker, and then adding color to it if you want. We also do a lot of creating invitations, provocations with children. We don't really do traditional activities. We don't do any drill and skill. We really focus on learning like scientists and investigating. And we write stories to our children. So this is a learning story that Amanda and Chelsea wrote to Harry. And they really have enjoyed watching children play at home and do their activities at home because of COVID. And then we write back to them. Here's some more learning about schema. Schema is a repeated pattern of play that children engage in that is linked to brain development and learning how to think. And so these are some of the schema that children explore. So you can see students doing that. We have been face to face the whole time with gloves sometimes and always with face masks. And so far we've done really, really well. We made Play-Doh for all of our families. This was pumpkin spice Play-Doh that we made, and parents came and picked up. We use real clay. Everybody got a kit, all of our kiddos got a kit, and flashlights has been one of the most fun things that the children have had to explore. And we've observed them mastering paintbrushes and pencils, and you can see if your eyes kind of gaze from left to right, you can see all the different kinds of pencil grips children are using as a part of their development. And then if we get way over to the right, our two oldest kiddos have a very mature pencil grip and lots of control over those markers and pencils. The same as with scissors for a lot of our kiddos this year. It was their first time experiencing scissors, so we have two-handed cutting, and I just love this one in the middle. His mouth is open as he's cutting. His mom's mouth is open. They're working hard to learn how to open and close those scissors. And then we get over to the right, and we've got our 5-year-olds are just so competent at using those scissors. We do reading with the children. And to the children. This is a fun one. Harry's one of our youngest. He just had turned 2. We were reading about leaves and fall and how the wind sweeps the leaves away, and he ran and got the broom out of the cabinet in the kitchen and said, "Broom sweeps." And we love that. It's like, oh, those are great connections. When we were exploring swirls, we can see there one of our friends is making swirls and using all those fall colors we just learned about trees. So she was carrying those ideas on. Lots of collage, just beautiful. And doing math, but no worksheets and no coloring sheets. And lots of investigations. This is Emmerich investigating paper and seeing what happens when he adds reagents to paper. So what happens when you add lemon juice? What happens when you add salt? What happens when you add water? What happens when you add oil? And there he is trying to get the paper to dissolve in a jar of water. An engineering challenge. This is one of our kiddos. We gave her the challenge, can you make a gate that will hold 5 pumpkins? This child and her dad, they invented a tool for picking apples. And she taught us all about it. And so our kids are observing. We give each of them a jeweler's loupe so they can look really carefully. And scientists deconstruct and construct, and they ask questions. Just see if we can get this to play really quick.
Actually, I'm gonna dump some in the spoon. Why is it not working? I need to use the eye drop.
It's good problem solving. Hey, that worked better, didn't it?
I'm going to stop it there just because we have time. All right, so you can kind of see, and there's Lauren writing down a list of the things she collected. She's one of our older kids. But in closing, when our approach to early childhood is to do all things with joy. And so we're always looking for how can we experience joy with the children, and just seeing their bright faces, their excitement with those flashlights, and all the art materials and the experiences we do brings us so much joy. And then also optimism. We're always looking for the positive, and I think that's a big piece of early childhood. The last slide I have is some of the dispositions and some of the skills that people need to be in the field. And that's something you can look at even later to see if this is a good match for you. And then last on here, my information and Paula's information. She's our advisor. In case you're ever interested in PSEO options, we do have some online classes. Or in case you're ever interested in coming to RCTC, if you'd like a tour, see our program, we'd love to meet you and we'd love to have you.